A lot of mainstream beekeeping pundits speak out against having treatment-free beekeepers in their area, and discussing treatment-free beekeeping carves huge divides among the community of beekeepers. So much so that beekeeping has become deeply divided into two opposing factions: pro-treatment and treatment-free. Well, there is an answer to that divide. There are beekeepers in both factions who support responsible treatment-free beekeeping, and that's what we're going to talk about coming right up. Hi, I'm Scott McPherson, and this is Beekeeping from Scratch, where it's about the bees. Hey there, beekeepers. Welcome to Beekeeping from Scratch, where we document our journey starting over from scratch and successfully growing our operations back to profitability together with you. Now, before we get started, if we haven't met yet, my name is Scott McPherson, and this is the fourth installment of my show, Nothing But Bees, where we discuss theoretical beekeeping topics such as history, core concepts, myths, and issues facing our bees. Now, if you have watched a few Beekeeping from Scratch videos, I urge you to please subscribe and ring the little notification bell icon to notify you the minute we upload our next video. Your subscribership and watching these videos all the way to the end really helps out our channel and gets this material in front of more beekeepers and people interested in keeping bees. The largest majority of beekeepers and the clubs and associations of which they are members have been indoctrinated for nearly 4 decades of using chemicals, poisons, acids, and mechanical means in the attempt to eliminate or manage the varroa mite, which is currently the biggest threat, second only to modern conventional agricultural practices. There are, however, a few beekeepers left who have been beekeeping since before the onslaught of varroa, and for whatever reason, whether intentionally or unintentionally, have been treatment-free since the very beginning, never put chemicals in their hives, and survived and thrived as beekeepers. In addition to those treatment-free veterans, there has been a movement of sorts, whatever it is you wish to call it, towards more organic living, that has raised a few younger generations of beekeepers and wannabe beekeepers who don't want to use chemicals in their beehives. And these beekeepers are usually served from their own support communities a huge, healthy portion of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. The largest majority of these new beekeepers are driven away from beekeeping altogether. A few of them get absorbed into the pro-treatment ranks, and then some are driven into hiding and or silence, and because they have no guidance or support, they often fail and give up, having wasted their time and money, and many would say contributed to the problem by creating what is colloquially known as the mite bomb. Treatment-free beekeepers and beekeepers who want to become treatment-free are often silenced, which is a shame, because beekeepers in both factions have huge amounts of experience to share with one another. It doesn't have to be this way. All beekeepers share a love of their bees. If newer treatment-free beekeepers had support from veteran treatment-free beekeepers, learning how to keep bees treatment-free successfully and responsibly, then wouldn't that be better for everyone? Isn't it better for the beekeepers who want to be treatment-free beekeepers? Isn't it better for the beekeepers who will continue to treat their bees because the treatment-free beekeepers are being taught the right and responsible way of keeping their bees? Wouldn't it be better if pro-treatment and treatment-free beekeepers work together to increase the total body of beekeeping knowledge? I think so. So, what is responsible treatment-free? There are several successful treatment-free beekeepers, and perhaps no two beekeepers keep bees exactly the same way. Additionally, beekeeping is very local. Beekeeping in Arizona on the border of Mexico is going to be very different than keeping bees in New England. The climate is different, the landscape is different, the flora is different, the mix of pests is different. Indeed, all the pressures of life are going to be different. And the bees themselves will be different too. Even bees 50 miles apart may have filtered through different natural selection processes. And if you swap those locations, the bees might not do very well at all. There are, however, some common and core principles. Too many to list in this one video. Perhaps, however, the most important practice that should be common to all beekeepers, whether they treat or don't treat, is to not suffer weak colonies. Weak colonies get robbed out, And if they survive, the chances are they're going to get robbed out again. There are two useful ways that a weak colony can be leveraged in your bee yards. You can take the weak colony and boost your strong hives with its population and resources. Alternatively, you can make a nucleus colony out of that weak colony, requeen it with one of your queens, and use it as a brood factory, and then get it ready to overwinter. In the following spring, it has a decent chance of becoming one of your more productive colonies. Another tool that you have as a treatment-free beekeeper that will help prevent your colonies from being blamed as being mite bombs is to place robbing screens on all of your colonies, or at least on the weaker half of your colonies. According to a recent study done by Tom Seeley, mite bombs might better be renamed as robbing lures. Colonies that are weak, on the edge of collapsing, or currently are collapsing, become targets for robbing. Tom's paper shows that robbing is perhaps the main mechanism of sharing surplus mite loads with other colonies. Placing robber screens on the weaker half of your colonies may go very far to avoid being called a mite bomber. These two practices, not suffering weak colonies and using robber screens, should put you at least one good foot into the responsible treatment-free beekeeper camp. And if you do get called a mite bomber, cite Tom Seeley's paper and show that you do only have decently strong colonies and that you use robber screens. That should end the discussion right then and right there. So right, I was at the 2019 SNEBA convention this past November. At first, to be honest, I had a really good time, and I met lots of good people and even saw a few people that I hadn't seen in a very long time. And the presentations, for the most part, were pretty good. But after lunch, the presentations really took a serious pro-treatment bent. And I don't just mean pro-treatment. I mean strong FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Showing pictures of colonies with mite counts that were so high that they drew gasps from the audience. However, despite all the gasps, half of my table mates confided in me that they were treatment-free beekeepers, but also that they kept quiet about it. That should tell you something. I have also heard some deeply respected beekeeping pundits talk about how there are some very successful treatment-free beekeepers whom they know, admire, and respect, yet don't you dare try it. You can't do it. Why is that? I think that it is time for all beekeeping clubs and associations to take responsibility of and responsibility for their treatment-free members, as well as those who would be members. Take an anonymous poll of your membership to find out how many of your members actually are already treatment-free beekeepers, as well as find out who really would like to become treatment-free. Firstly, this might enlighten the club leadership and the membership at large how prolific treatment-free beekeeping really is, and how desirable it is for much of your membership to become treatment-free. Now, I don't want you to use that information to create re-education programs to bring those fools back into line. Clearly, the message from clubs is already treat, 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 treat. But rather, take the time to realize that there are already enough people that are successfully treatment-free, and that there are enough people that want it, that there is an opportunity for clubs and associations to put these potential mentors and new treatment-free beekeepers together. Those beekeepers whom you want to learn how to keep bees treatment-free the right and responsible way. You may find over time that if enough people have been trained in how to keep bees treatment-free successfully and responsibly, that the livestocks of these beekeepers keep growing. And that as a club, if you bother taking statistics, you may find that the treatment-free beekeepers are having similar or better results than beekeepers who treat their bees. Wouldn't you want that experience and perhaps those bees to be fostered and shared openly with more members of the club through club-sponsored mentor programs, rather than watching the new inexperienced beekeeper trying to go treatment-free on their own and failing and potentially causing mite bombs. Isn't finding bees without having to worry so much about the mites one of the most important things that bee researchers are doing today? I would think that discovering who is actually and successfully keeping bees treatment-free and learning from them to be one of the biggest priorities for every club and association. They are among you, trust me, and they are doing quite well, and you should be taking advantage of their experience and knowledge for both the treatment-free and the pro-treatment beekeepers. Instead of making new and young treatment-free beekeepers try to go at it on their own, I think that it is the responsibility of clubs and associations to take responsibility for treatment-free beekeeping at large and make sure that good mentorship programs are in place to assure that regardless of whether you're a treatment-free beekeeper or a treating beekeeper, that all beekeepers are respected and well cared for and mentored properly. All right, if you are interested in filming your own beekeeping videos or any kind of video, check out the affiliate links below in the description to the camera and audio equipment that I use in my productions. We get a small commission and it doesn't cost you one additional penny to support this channel. And if you found this video useful, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions at all, please check out the link to our Facebook group because I'd like to start gathering and answering your questions. All right, folks, have a great day and remember to stay safe.